If you are experiencing hardship, you are experiencing stress, you're experiencing some of these feelings of not being enough or trying so hard and it still doesn't seem to be enough, what I've come to terms with that I wanted to share with you as a message is that feeling very much, in my opinion, comes from how much we care, how much we give a shit, how much we truly love the people in our lives. We love our family. We love our children. We love our spouse. We love our business. We love our personal growth journey and stepping into that potential. We love life. We want to get the maximum squeeze out of this shot that we call life. And as a result of that, it's painful because we want to experience more. We want to be more free. We want to have more money. We want to do these things that we know we can do, but it sometimes can feel like a lot to do it all at the same time. Hey, what's going on? Welcome back to another episode of the Diamond Life Mentor Podcast with your host, BWK, Balazs W Kardos. Hope you're having an awesome day. I'm really excited to talk about today's episode where we're going to dive into the level of standards that you choose to hold for yourself and what that actually means and how you can understand the choices that you're making and the priorities that you're making and what the consequences or potential rewards are of those standards that you set for yourself. So I was talking to my wife the other day, and that's what inspired me to create this topic for today's episode, is around how recently I've really been going through a tough time. And the tough time is, to a lot of people from the outside looking in, hard to understand, because there are certain elements of my success, my lifestyle, and achievements and certain things that would make someone else not really get it. They would basically say, well, it's easy for you to say this, or it must be easier for you than for someone else, etc., etc. And while those comparisons could be true and could be accurate depending on your perspective and where you're looking at it from, the conversation I was having with my wife was how I feel like I am suffering recently, and it's self-inflicted. And so when I look at the reason why I'm suffering and why I'm having a hard time, some of it is mental health, some of it is physical, regarding pushing myself in the gym and training hard and being sore and those kinds of things. But it actually comes back to the level of standards that I'm aiming to hold for myself. And because those standards are high and because those standards are challenging, and there's so many different aspects of what I'm choosing to do in my life, business, personal growth, the gym, my personal life, some of the physical results, parenting, the level of standards that I hold in my marriage with my wife, she's pregnant, what I'm trying to contribute towards her and our family, are being number one in the company that I'm an affiliate for in the world, being asked to speak as the closing speaker, the last speaker of the 50th anniversary convention in Okinawa, Japan, and preparing that and taking seriously. I hired someone who's going to help me prepare my talk and make sure that it's world class and the standard that I want to be able to present to the company, to Mr. Shiro, to the entire distributors. Over 8,000 people are expected to be there. And so even when I already was feeling maxed out, I still chose to take on something that would require another 30 to 40 hours of preparation in less than 30 days of time that I don't actually feel like I have to allocate to something like this. So the point that I wanted to make in today's episode is, we've heard that expression around choose your hard. And often that, for a lot of people, is misunderstood. They don't quite understand. And what happens is that we can buckle under pressure and we can retreat back to things that are comfortable, easier, focusing on just the instant gratification of those choices, but it actually will lead to more pain, more suffering, and more hardship down the track in the future of your life that is hard to quantify for a lot of people. And so in my particular case, when I'm training and it's difficult and there's a lot of moving pieces to it, when you actually get dialed in and want to get a lean physique and a strong physique, there are so many little tiny choices and so many little tiny habits that you need to consistently do every single day to get that outcome. From optimizing your sleep and choosing when you put your phone away or when you turn the TV off or when you, prepare for a good night's rest and all this stuff. Like I have a 10-step bedtime routine. You know what I mean? Like literally 10 things that I'm doing every single night in sequence to prepare my body for optimal rest. Then, waking up on time, then training, then post-training nutrition, then the choices that you're making all day, tracking your macros in an app, having a coach that holds you accountable, making sure that you get a certain amount of cardio and steps in every single day, the supplementation that you have. There's so much that goes into this one little area of your life that for most people, even that is too much. They're like, you know what, forget it. Maybe I'll go for a walk. Maybe I'll go to the gym for an hour. Maybe I'll have a protein shake. And then they kind of leave it at that, which is probably like 30 to 40% of what you actually need to be doing to be operating at peak performance in a world-class way. Then there's my daughter who's 3.5, and we believe in, homeschooling her at the moment. We don't have her in any sort of daycare, any outside help or anything like that at the moment. So my mom, her grandmother definitely helps out a lot. But overall, it's my wife and I that are either with my daughter all day long or take turns. And one of the challenges that I've been experiencing with that is when you grow a successful business and you make your dreams a reality and you don't have to do anything, but you still choose to, you still want to, you want to grow, you want to make a difference, you want to level up, you want to help more people. It's a passion of mine. I truly enjoy it. I love what I do. I love my business. I love my leadership position that I'm in. I love serving. I love my coaching and mentorship program. All these things I really enjoy doing. But what happens a lot of the time is that we have a plan for the day. We map it all out and we schedule it, which is fine. I'm pretty good about that. But then what happens, there's all these unexpected surprises that come up. So in my case, I have family time, I have time with my daughter, everything's in my calendar, everything's scheduled. And if it was up to me, I would be able to stick to that schedule quite easily, right? With very few days where I have a trouble sticking to the discipline of my day. But what happens is there are times where, my wife is pregnant and she's like, hey, babe, can you do this for me? Can you help me with this? Can you do whatever? And it's like I'm stuck in this position of, well, it's not in the schedule. And technically I have all these other things planned for the day. But you're my wife. You're more important to me than my plans. And so I will choose my wife over my perfectly planned out day to get things done that are business related or whatever it might be. Same thing with my daughter. She'll say we have our time and then we're at the park and then she goes, Daddy, can we stay longer? Can we do this? Can we do that? Can we ride my bike? And she's so innocent and she's so sweet and she's so precious and I love her so much that in that moment, I have to remind myself, like, this is what I work so hard for. I work so hard for the fact that I can pivot and I can adjust and I can change my mind and I can actually prioritize the spontaneous moments, the precious moments that are fleeting and they're temporary because, as we know, as parents, our children are young for a short time. And those same types of requests around, can you play with me? Or can you do this? Can you do that? Those requests will start to diminish over the years to less and less and less. And so in those moments, I'm like, yes, I will. But then what happens is later on in the day, I beat myself up. I didn't get as much stuff done. I promised my team that works closely with me, who are so understanding and they're so amazing, I then have to go to them and make excuses for why certain things aren't done on time. And I'm really torn in this difficult place, and I beat myself up about it. And so at the end of the day, I'm kind of stressed out. I'm down on myself. I'm being hard on myself. My wife sees it. She's like, "You all right?" I'm like, "I just don't feel like I can handle it. I don't feel like I can all this stuff on my plate, all this pressure, all this stuff to live up to, I feel like I'm letting people down. And if it's not letting you and my daughter down, it's letting my family down, or it's letting my team down, or it's letting, it always feels like someone's getting the short end of the stick. And so back to the point is, I'm suffering as a result of the high standards that I'm trying to uphold for myself, the high standards of output and performance regarding work, the high standards around my podcast, the high standards around my fitness, my physique, my nutrition, my recovery, my marriage, my daughter, my family, my mother, my brother. You know what I mean? The list goes on and on and on. And all of these areas, I want to have the highest standards. I want to do my best. I want to improve. And so there's this feeling often that creeps in of, I am not enough. I am not doing enough. I'm not leading enough. I'm not helping enough people. There's this feeling that keeps creeping up. And some days it really, really messes me up. I am almost miserable to this point of things not going my way. And I have to remind myself that if I just threw in the towel, right? If I threw in the towel and said, you know what, screw my diet that I'm sticking to, I'll just eat whatever. I'll get takeout, I'll smash pizza, I'll do whatever. That would be the easy thing to do, right? And same thing with taking a day off from training, or or just simply telling my wife or my daughter, no, sorry, too bad, like you do it, you figure it out. Or any combination of those things would be the easier thing for me to do that would actually make me suffer less in a way, or feel like I'm able to manage all of this stuff easier. And, in 2024, I haven't had a sip of alcohol. I haven't resorted to having a whiskey on the rocks or a tequila at the end of a long day, or a glass of wine to kind of take the edge off, or any of that stuff. I've actually been sitting with my feelings, sitting with my emotions. And it's been tough, to resort to breath work or meditation, or taking a cold shower, going for a walk, or getting a little bit of alone time. I've been resorting to some of these other modalities to try to cope with everything that's going on in my plate. And the reason why I'm sharing this with you is not for you to feel sorry for me, or not for you to have sympathy or anything. It's more so for you to understand that if you are experiencing hardship, you are experiencing stress, you're experiencing some of these feelings of not being enough, or trying so hard and it still doesn't seem to be enough. What I've come to terms with that I wanted to share with you as a message is that feeling very much, in my opinion, comes from how much we care, how much we give a shit, how much we truly love the people in our lives. We love our family. We love our children. We love our spouse. We love our business. We love our personal growth journey and stepping into that potential. We love life. We want to get the maximum squeeze out of this shot that we call life. And as a result of that, it's painful because we want to experience more. We want to be more free. We want to have more money. We want to do these things that we know we can do, but it sometimes can feel like a lot to do it all at the same time. And we're constantly having to make these choices between this or that. Is this the priority right now, or is that the priority right now? And that's really hard. It's so challenging because you look around and there's these people that are so comfortable with just being average at best. They're just lazy. They procrastinate. They don't really try very hard at anything. They have accepted that life is challenging. They're victims of their circumstances. They blame. And sometimes it almost looks attractive. It's kind of weird for me to say that, but there are moments when I'm really feeling like there's a lot on my plate and I'm kind of being crushed by expectations or pressure or deadlines or these different things. And sometimes I look at these other people and I go like, maybe you're the smart one. Maybe you're the one who has life figured out. Because you're just so lazy. You sit around on your phone doing nothing, watching sports, watching Netflix, living for the weekend, drinking on Friday, Saturday nights. Maybe you're the one who's got it figured out. Maybe I'm the crazy one. Maybe I'm the one who's actually, creating this unnecessary expectation or this unnecessary standard or whatever. And sometimes I let my mindset slip into this place of like, why in the fuck am I doing this? What is the point, right? Now, of course, I don't actually agree with what I just said. I think that's absolutely insane. But sometimes it's like, those are those moments of like doubt, those moments of questioning ourselves where wouldn't it just be easier to be average? Wouldn't it be easier to just fit in? Wouldn't it be easier to just go, meh, whatever. It is what it is. This is just my life. I wasn't born into a rich family. I wasn't born into this. I wasn't born. So maybe it's just not in my cards. So why try so hard? Why bother, right? Have you ever thought about that? Do you ever think those thoughts when you're really feeling like life is just too much? You got so much going on, so much on your plate. It's hard. It's like you're spinning because there's a lot of things moving on. So my perspective around this is that when I'm able to ground myself back, focus on gratitude, actually look at the beautiful, amazing diamond life that I'm so privileged to enjoy, to be healthy, almost 39 years old. I'm in almost the best shape of my life. I would definitely say I'm the strongest, and where my strength and conditioning coach often reminds me and gives me praise and gives me recognition when we're training together, as he tells me like, dude, you literally had a kid in 2020 when there was a pandemic. Your wife was pregnant in 2020. Then you were a first-time parent in the lockdowns, the forced vaccinations, the crazy upside down society of like 2021. You have managed to literally not miss a day of training. I've never missed a day of training with my coach 5 days a week. If he took a day off, cool, or there was like one doctor's appointment where I couldn't make it and we had to reschedule, and then a couple, when I travel out of town or whatever, that's it. But I've never once said I need to take the day off. I want to have a rest day, nothing. Literally in almost 4 years, I haven't taken a day off. He's like, dude, that's outstanding. My sleep that I track is an A average, meaning 85 score or better, with a toddler who sleeps in our bed half the night, kicks me in the face, kicks me in the balls, all kinds of crazy stuff, wakes up in the middle of the night, needs to go to the bathroom, pee, whatever, all this stuff. And I still manage to get 85 sleep and recovery. My business is literally growing 30% year over year. My income is on autopilot, continues to grow. I get a residual income check every single month. Travel the world in luxury. There's so much beautiful things that are going on in my reality, and yet still, I'm always looking at how do I improve? What's the standard that I can hold to a higher degree? How do I become a better father? How do I become a better husband? How do I become a better leader? How do I become a better CEO? How do I become a better, distributor, affiliate? All these things. That's where the majority of my time is spent contemplating and thinking about, and it's a lot. And I think that often when people are looking at me from the outside in, maybe you listening to my podcast might be putting me on a pedestal and, want to trade places with me and stuff. I get it. I understand that perspective. But I want you to also realize that to be in my position, to be in my shoes isn't easy by any stretch of the imagination. And it's difficult for a multitude of reasons, but the most difficult is the standards that I choose to hold for myself. And if you want to be in a similar position to me on your journey one day, whether it's, to be happily married to the love of my life after 11 years, being a dad to a present, beautiful, amazing little girl, from business to personal life to physique to strength, whatever it might be that you also aspire to become, understand that it will require you to have difficult standards that are hard to meet, that you're almost always disappointed with the fact that you could have done better, that you had more in you, you could have prepared more, you could have gave it an even better effort. And a lot of the times people think that I walk around like thinking I'm the best and settled or stop trying or whatever. And that's the furthest thing from the truth. I literally feel like I'm at 1% of my potential. And a lot of people would think that's insane because of, what I've been able to create before the age of 40. But It's the high standards that actually create the results and the outcomes. And if you are so content and comfortable with your life that you're like, meh, I know I could have done better, but whatever. If that's the mentality, if that's the attitude, then I promise you won't get very far, because all of the people we look up to, whether it's personal brands or entrepreneurs or celebrities or athletes or whoever would be the top of their class in society, in any profession, in any industry, all of these people have ridiculously high standards that they hold themselves to. They stay disciplined and consistent to those standards. And mostly all of them are constantly disappointed with not being better than they can. And that's crazy to think, but that is the reason why they have those results. Because at any moment, right? I was talking to my wife, which brought this whole conversation onto the podcast. I was like, at any moment, I could decide, you know what? Screw it. I'm going to eliminate this. I'm going to cancel this. I'm going to stop the podcast. I'm going to stop my coaching program. I'm going to fire my fitness coach. I'm going to just eat whatever. I'm not going to track my macros. I'm not going to track my calories. I'm not going to track my sleep. I'm just going to throw in the towel and just be a regular, normal person who doesn't care, who just kind of flies by the seat of their pants, and they're just like, meh, whatever, it is what it is, lives the same year over and over and over and over again, and somehow accepts that they're calling that a life, and then dies one day, literally paying bills until the day they die, and then being like, it's over now. It is what it is. At any moment I could do that, and it would be 90% easier, my day-to-day life, even now. And maybe, I don't know, but maybe, my income would just keep going the way it is. My business would keep growing without me. And maybe the hard part of my life is complete, and I can just go into easy cruising altitude, right? I could do that. And every time I contemplate that, every time I think about that, it just doesn't feel right. I don't know. It's just not who I am. It's not in my soul. It's not my mission. It's not my purpose. And it just feels so wrong, so offensive, so insulting to consider treating myself this way, to consider letting myself off the hook. Like, you know what, man, just don't worry about it. It's fine. Instead, I'm like, no, man, you just got to get better. You just got to get stronger. You have to go back to the drawing board, and you have to think about new ways to solve your problems. You have to think innovatively. You have to think outside the box. How can you get more done in less time? How can you be more efficient with less work? How can you maximize certain things so that you kill 3 birds with 1 stone instead of 2 birds with 1 stone? What if we can kill an extra bird with the same stone? What does that look like? Let's think about it. Let's meditate on it. Let's journal about it. And now I have a second baby on the way, which I'm so excited about. And that will inevitably make my life even more challenging in a new, different way again. Now I'm going to have a 4-year-old and a newborn. And so the 4-year-old, my daughter, will have different needs than a newborn. And then I'm going to have to juggle both of them and be able to shift gears to keep up with the 4-year-old and then slow down and be present and enjoy those early, months and stuff before they start crawling, walking, talking, and then being a toddler just like my daughter. So it's like there's this whole transition that I'm coming towards in October. Then I'm going to be turning 40. So there's this whole level of like, okay, cool. Well, the things that I was doing regarding health, fitness, etc., there's got to be some changes because physiologically we change as we age, especially in the big decades, especially when it's like going from your 30s to your 40s. So, my 40s are like in 18 months when I turn 40. So there's all this stuff coming on. We just bought a penthouse, so we're investing in that. We got all these moving pieces, and I'm basically trying to stick to, we have to improve, we have to get better, we have to hold our standards despite how hard they are. We have to stick to it even when I want to throw in the towel. And I just got to handle this emotional resilience and this stress even better than I am so far. So what I'm getting at here is if you aren't going to raise your standards and you aren't going to put yourself in the fire and forge a new you to become better, to handle this stuff then it will be very difficult for you to lead a team of tens of thousands of people in 100 countries all over the world. It'll be very difficult for you to ever be the number one producing team in your company. It'll be very difficult for you to maintain a healthy, loving, intimate, beautiful marriage and relationship with your spouse for 10 plus years. It'll be very difficult for you to have a strong, amazing bond and connection with your children and be present and have freedom and be a stay-at-home parent. It'd be very difficult for you to travel the world and experience all the beautiful things in a luxurious way that money's no object. It'd be very difficult for you to be strong and lean and, have a great physique and, more importantly, be healthy from the inside out. All of these things are not going to be within your cards if you do not raise your standards and you do not uphold yourself despite the difficulty, despite the challenge, despite the pain and the suffering that comes with it, where you're shaking your head at the end of the day being like, I let myself down today. I could have done more. And even though I did this, and this right, I still dropped the ball over here on this one thing or this two things or this three things. If you're not feeling that way, often that means your standards are most likely too low and you're going to come short of your potential, because everybody who is operating at that highest level and they actually desire to be the best in all these categories, not just one or maybe two categories, which is most people, right? Most people out there are one-dimensional. And what that means is they might have the strongest physique, they might be ripped, they might be strong, they might be going to the gym every single day, but they don't have freedom. They don't have kids. They don't travel the world in a 5-star way. They're not millionaires. So they have one area of their life dialed in, and a lot of people look at that and it's respectable and admirable, of course. But then you look at this other category and you're like, well, that's kind of average. Oh, they don't even have kids here? Oh, well, they're lucky. They can do whatever they want with their time all day long. You know what I mean? So when you actually start to look at the big picture, it's very, very rare and very, very hard and very difficult to be in a committed, loyal relationship with your partner, have young children that are not being supported in daycare and you're taking care of them and being present for them and keeping them happy and educated and entertained and loved and all that stuff, training every single day, eating a dialed-in diet where you track every single thing you put in your mouth and consistently hitting that mark. Being a leader, having a podcast, being number one in your company, speaking on stage, traveling the world, putting out content daily. There's a lot of moving parts in my life, and I'm trying to keep the highest of standards in every single area. And so what I'm getting at is, unless you want the same thing, your diamond life that's well-rounded, that checks all these different boxes, and you're not like, you know what, I'll have the money, I'll have the kids, but I'm going to be a fat slob with titties, talking about the men. Okay, you need to make a decision, right? You need to make a decision. Is that acceptable in your standards? Because I see a lot of people out there, they're haters. I see a lot of people talking smack, and I quickly analyze them like, cool, man, you think you're hot shit in this one area of your life, but look at your physique, man. You know what I mean? It looks like you eat donuts all day. Or over here, it's like something different. It's like, yo, do you even have any quality time with your wife? It seems like all you do is work. So anyways, the point that I'm making is be very, very mindful and careful of who you listen to and the standards that they hold themselves to, and make sure that if you want to trade places with somebody like me or anyone else who has the life that you want and they're upholding themselves to a certain level of standards, that you are willing to commit to the same thing. You need to literally go, all right, what do I need to change? What do I need to dial in? And I want to just mention one last thing before I wrap up this podcast episode, that you don't necessarily have to, or it's not advisable for you to start trying to change every single area of your life all at once to the point where you're miserable and you can't keep up. For myself, I've been chipping away at improving these standards for 10 plus years in different aspects of my life. So it is a gradual thing. And once you're able to expand what you're capable of, and it becomes your new normal, and you can just withhold this energy. For example, like myself starting my podcast. When I started my podcast, I didn't think that I would be able to manage another project like a podcast along with everything else I was already having high standards in regards to. But now it's been like a year and a bit, almost a year and a half. I'm now like, cool, this is just a part of my weekly cadence, my schedule. It works. I can make it work. I can find a way. And so we add this piece, we make it normalized, we hold ourselves to that standard, and it just becomes a standard. We don't go back down from that. Then we're able to add another piece. Then we're able to add another piece. But make sure you're asking yourself, am I happy and content with the level of standards that I'm holding myself to? And if it's hard, it's supposed to be hard because that's what is required for you to grow. And if you do not choose hard things now in your life, I promise you, you are delaying the hardships inevitably that will come for you in the future. And that could look different for different areas of your life. If you don't train and watch what you eat and actually hold yourself to a high standard there, it could lead to obesity, heart problems, cancers, health issues, your spouse leaving you because you're unattractive and you're not good in bed and whatever. All these other problems can literally start from you not having high standards. If you're not present with your kids, you don't prioritize them with their needs and their wants when they're little, your bond and your relationship is going to be, not very good. And so you probably won't have a great relationship when they're older and they won't talk to you very much. They won't ask for your advice. You won't know what's going on in their life. It's going to be really sad. So there's that. So there's all these consequences to not having high standards in the moment that are inevitably going to come down the track. Same thing with retirement, investments, finances, leadership, being number one in the company, being recognized on stage, crossing the stage as a new level, new rank. All of these things will not happen if you do not do hard things and hold yourself to the highest standards right now, today. And so I hope this message was powerful. I hope you realize that I'm putting myself through the flames and the fire and forging a new version of myself every single day, super hard on me. And I'm doing my best, and I will continue to strive to do even better and strive to become great. And I'm so far from feeling like I'm even close to that. And so thank you for listening to my podcast. Thank you for sharing social media clips and letting me know that it's adding value into your life, because on the toughest days, that is always a nice little reminder that my hard work and high standards are not going unnoticed. And it is actually, in fact, worth it and valuable for you, everybody who listens to my podcast, which is growing, by the way, all thanks to your loyalty and your commitment to listening. So thank you guys for that. And please continue to share, tag me on Instagram, and I'm looking forward to seeing you again on the next episode. All right, take care. Cheers.